Alright, grade 8. Let's continue with algebraic expressions. Now we're going to talk about a polynomial. So what is a polynomial? It is still an expression. So basically, an expression and polynomial is the same thing. It's just that we prefer to say expression, but there's nothing wrong with polynomial. Right, so we have different types of polynomials, and this is the important part. We have what we call a monomial. Mono means one. So monomial would mean one term. Remember, terms are separated by a plus or a minus. So a monomial would be one term. For example, maybe we just have 2x squared. Remember, this is one term because we said terms are separated by a plus or a minus. But when we look at 2x squared, there is no plus or minus that separates the 2 and the x squared. That's because they multiply to each other. And whenever we have something that's multiplied to each other, it's like it's glued to each other. It forms one term. Right. So that is a monomial, one term. Now the second one, two terms. We call that a binomial. Remember, a bicycle has two wheels. So a bi for two. So this is two terms. That's a binomial. So meaning we're going to have maybe something like x plus, okay, minus 1. So this is one term because the 2 is multiplied to the x, so that's one term minus 1. So this is a binomial, meaning we have two terms. So this is a binomial. Now we have a third one, which is a trinomial. So usually in grade 8 and 9, they only ask you up until a trinomial. They don't ask you if you have more terms. They cannot ask you that for now. So a trinomial would be x squared plus maybe 2x minus 1. So these are three terms separated by a plus and a minus. So this is an example of a trinomial. Right, this is very important. So in the exam, they can give you an expression. They can say, here's the following expression. Can you tell us the type of a polynomial? So what type of a polynomial is this? So looking at this, you're supposed to say that this plus separates this term and this term, making this a binomial because we have 1, 2. So when they ask you what type of a polynomial is this, then you start explaining yourself, or you don't explain, you just say it's a monomial or binomial or trinomial. So we have this term as a binomial because it's two terms that are separated by this plus. All right, so these are the notes. I already wrote it down. I didn't want to write everything. So we have a coefficient, variable, constant, and the degree of the expression. So a coefficient is a number in front of a variable, right? For example, let me write this down. This is an expression, 2x minus 6. For example, this is an expression. And the type of expression this is a trinomial. Okay? Or a type of polynomial is a trinomial because it has three terms. Now I'm going to explain what the coefficient, variable, and constant is. But first, let's start with a variable. So variable is the unknown and it is represented as alphabets. Right, when we look at this, we have numbers and alphabets. So you see this and this, we call it a variable because we do not know what x is. So x can be anything, but now in mathematics we represent it like this. So we call this a variable and it's written in form of alphabets. It can be A, it can be B, it can be anything. We call this a variable, and in this case we have variable of x. If here we had y, we'd say our variable is x and y. Right, so that's what we call a variable. So if they ask you what is the variable of the expression, then we would say that it is x. Right. Secondly, we have what we call a coefficient. So a coefficient is a number in front of the variable, and sometimes it can be behind the variable. Right. Now, what is the number in front of this variable, which is called x? The number is a positive 2 because this sign goes with the number. When we look at this x squared, they can ask you what is the coefficient of x squared. Now, if you do not see a number, it simply means that it is 1. So if they ask you what the coefficient of x squared is, you would say that it is 1. Because that's how we represent maths. Usually, when we have an 1 and a variable, do not write it as 1x. We just write it as x. We do not usually put 1. But if it's a different number like 2 or more, then we can put the number there to represent. But when it's like this, we already know that the coefficient is just 1. If we had a negative here, and they ask you what is the coefficient of x squared, you would say that the coefficient of x squared is actually negative 1. Do you see that? Right. So every number or every term goes with its sign. So when we talk about coefficient, we talk about the number that is in front of the variable. For example, these ones. So these are variables and the numbers in front of it would be these ones. Right. So that is what we call a coefficient. Right, then we have a constant. So a constant is a number without a variable. It's a number with no alphabets at all. And when we look at this negative 6 right here, it's a negative 6, it's not a 6. When we look at this negative 6 right here, we can see that it does not have any variable, meaning that this negative 6 would be our constant. So this is very, very important. Usually it's 5 to 7 marks, and they ask you, give us the coefficient of this, give us the variable, give us the constant and the degree of the expression. All right, so what is the degree of the expression? It is the highest exponent of the expression. Right, let's look at the exponent. Yes, I can see that here they did not write an exponent, but the exponent is raised to the power of 1. So even variables, they do have exponents, but the same way when we wanted the coefficient of x squared, we said it's 1 and we do not write it. We already know. Now, even with the exponent, sometimes if they don't write it, it simply means that it's to the power of 1. So when they want the degree of the expression, they're talking about the highest exponent. So looking at this, we have x squared with an exponent of 2, and we have x with an exponent of 1. Now, if we were to compare these two exponents, we would say that this exponent is the highest. And when you write it, when they ask you the degree of the expression, you do not write x squared. No, we talk about the exponent. We do not talk about the variable with the exponent. So if they ask you what is the degree of the expression, then you would say it's 2 and not x squared. Right, guys? I did not write these questions in full sentences, but this is what they would ask you. So given the expression 5x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x minus 2. So they're giving you this expression. And the first question is asking, how many terms do we have? So we said terms are separated by a plus or a minus. So meaning we have one term, so this is one term, 2, and then 3 and 4. So here we have 4 terms. Now, do you see that you are not asked what is the type of polynomial? Because now we have 4 terms right here, and we do not have 1, 2, or 3 terms. Remember, we only did 3 terms, which is a monomial, binomial, and trinomial. So now you have 4 terms, and you're not asked the degree, you're not asked the type of a polynomial, right? Please bear in mind. And then question number 2. they're asking you what is the coefficient of x squared. Now let's go to x squared. So coefficient, we said it is the number in front of the variable. So they're asking us what is the coefficient of x squared, meaning what is the number in front of x squared. But now we can't say it's 4, but we're supposed to say it's negative 4 because every number goes with its sign. So it's negative 4, and that is our answer. Right, they're asking you the coefficient of x. So now we're going to go to x. X is this one, this is x squared, this is x cubed. So x is this one, and they're asking us what is the coefficient, and the coefficient in this case is a positive 3. So we go and we write our positive 3. Right. Question number 4. What is the variable? Now they're asking you what is the alphabet that they give you here. And in this case, we have the alphabet of x. So the variable in this case is x. Next question. They're asking us to find the constant. We said that the constant would be a number without any alphabet, meaning without any variables. So this number right here is the one with no alphabet. But now this number moves with its sign. This is going to be negative 2 instead of 2. So the constant would be negative 2. Right. Question number 6. The degree of the expression. So what is the degree? We said the degree would be the highest power. Right, now let's go compare our powers. We have x to the power of 3, x to the power of 2, and this is going to be x to the power of 1 because they didn't give this x a power, so it's to the power of 1. But now we need to compare which one is the biggest one. So this would be the biggest power. So our biggest power, or the degree of the expression, is 3. It's not x cubed, it's 3. Right. Last question, the most important question, and this one has marks. It's about plus minus 2 to 3 marks. They're asking you, if x is equal to 1, determine the value of the expression. What they are saying is, if we look at this expression, which is 5x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x minus 2, they are saying if this x's right here are equal to 1, then what is the value of the expression? So meaning in the places of these x's, we are supposed to put 1. Right. Now when we substitute, we always put things in the bracket. In the place of x, we're going to put 1. But this is not just x, it's x that's raised to the power of 3. So we're going to still keep the power. Minus 4, and we're going to substitute 1 in the expression. So we have 1, but it should be to the power of 2. Plus 3, and then we also put it in the bracket, minus 2. You can put the whole thing in the calculator, or you can break it down. So 1 cubed is equal to 1. So 1 times 5 is 5. Minus 1 squared is equal to 1. 1 times negative 4 is negative, still negative 4. Plus 3 times 1 is 3 minus 2. Then you know with addition you go from left to right, you do not apply bottomers. So you say 5 minus 4, which is equal to 1, plus 3 minus 2. And then you add the 1 with the 3, you get 4 minus 2. And 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. And this is your final answer, meaning the value of this expression is equal to 2 when x is equal to 1.